So it is now Thursday morning, which means that according to the Coast Guard, the submersible that went down to see the Titanic right off the coast of Canada has officially run out of oxygen, which means that all five passengers on board are very likely deceased, perished, and no longer with us, which is a very sad story. However, we got to talk about this because there were so many missteps. There was so much rule breaking that took place that led to this situation. And the reason why it's important to talk about this is because there are other situations or things that rich people are doing that, in my opinion, are extremely dangerous. I look at people like Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, where basically a bunch of rich people could pay like $500,000 for a ticket. I don't know the cost, whatever it is, but they could pay like a crap ton of money to get a ticket and basically go to space, even though humans haven't perfected how to make sure that we can go there safely without dying. I don't think that's a good idea either. Same thing with Richard Branson, I think his name is. He was the guy behind Virgin Galactic, and they took a trip up to space. I think that exact same thing is what you're seeing here. I don't think it's wise. I think if you don't see much military or people like that doing that, I don't think you should be doing it unless you have the proper regulation and the proper channels checked that have allowed you to do this and have determined that it is safe. Okay, and so I don't want to bag on the CEO too much. His name is Stockton Rush. I don't want to bag on him too much because he's more than likely dead now. But I do have to be honest. I looked at some interviews and just a little bit of his history. He was extremely reckless. Just to put this into perspective, guys, in 2018, there was a whistleblower who used to work for the company who basically said that, hey, what this guy's doing is dangerous. This guy is bat crap crazy. He's out of his mind. He's being completely reckless. There are not enough safety measures in place to ensure that people survive. And that guy got fired. So you have that whistleblower. There's also, I guess, an interview that Stockton Rush did where he was basically like firing at the regulators and saying, oh, we'll be fine. What we do is safe. They're trying to get us to do this and do that, and we don't want to do it. Basically, we're seeing another instance of rich people breaking the rules, except unfortunately, it happened to their detriment. Normally, rich people break the rules all the time because they have money. And it normally happens to their benefit. This time it went to their detriment because they were able, I still don't know how they were able to do this. They were able to go lower in the ocean that basically anybody could go. And to put this into perspective, there's this really cool graphic that I saw on Twitter, guys. Here it is right here. So here is the sailboats, okay? When you're right above the surface, here are the sailboats. Right here is 1,000 feet below the ocean, which is basically the size of the inverted Statue of Liberty or the inverted Empire State Building. I've been inside the Statue of Liberty before. It's huge. It is absolutely huge. It is very tall. So that should give you some perspective. But here's where it gets even crazier. Giant squids and sharks and even whales and stuff like that, they only go 4,000 feet below the surface. If you go lower than that, you won't even be able to see whales because they don't go that far deep. Even the whales don't go that far deep. So just to put it to perspective, right? You see how deep we are, right? You got the squids right here. You got the whales. Okay, let's scroll all the way to the bottom. You see all this ocean? See all that? You see all that? This is how far they went. Just to put it into perspective, they went so far deep. Not only is it nothing but pitch black down there, there's no way for the Coast Guard to even save them. And I think there's been a little bit of dancing by the media here, and I really don't like this because I think that Americans deserve to hear the truth, which has always been my opinion. What the media did and what the Coast Guard did, and I guess they're the government. I guess you got to at least try, and on behalf of the families, I guess I can't be too mad. But in my personal opinion, I don't think there was ever a chance that they were going to save them. I know the media for the last few days kept saying, oh, we're doing everything we can. We're looking, blah, blah, blah. But I did some real thorough research into this. Not only is the search area the size of the entire state of Connecticut, they weren't even getting signals. All they were getting was banging noises, which we don't even know if that came from the submarine or not, because banging noises can come from anywhere. I've listened to a bunch of marine life experts and, ocean people and stuff like that. And what they said was the ocean is not quiet. There are noises that come from the ocean that cannot be explained. We have no idea. So they don't even know if those people were banging or not. And then on top of that, if they were to even find them, it would take them 8 hours to get them out. And they're still not even sure if they will be able to get them out because of how deep they are. And then on top of that, just to put the icing on the cake, the Coast Guard came out and said that they do have rescue measures in place, but that's only for people who are like 1,000 or 2,000 feet below the ocean. They've never trained properly. They don't even have trainings to rescue people from that deep because they don't expect people to ever go that deep. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how reckless this whole thing was? And now let me go ahead and show you guys another video just so you guys can kind of see what the inside of the thing is. I mean, when you just think of the suffering of what these people went through, it honestly just feels like an absolute nightmare. My heart truly does go out to them. I know there's a lot of people who are making fun of them on social media because unfortunately we live in a world where, you know, there's this large faction on social media that just hates rich people for some reason. I have no idea why, but my heart truly goes out to them. I mean, for crying out loud, there was a 19-year-old kid who was also on the submarine as well. It's just a very tragic situation. But anyway, this is the CEO right here. This is Stockton Rush, and he gives you a glimpse of the inside of the submarine. So now you guys get to see exactly what those people went through. Let's go ahead and play the video.
Day missions. So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and
so I don't know if you guys could just see that. I don't even know what that thing was, but that wasn't even really a toilet. That's like a bucket or something. So basically, this thing doesn't even really have a toilet. There's not really a way for you to use the bathroom because this is one of those things where it's meant to be a several-hour trip, and then you're right back in the surface. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Let's go ahead and see how big exactly this thing was.
It's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens.
This is one of the most embarrassing parts about this entire thing for me, because I can tell you right now, if I got on the submarine and the owner was bragging saying, oh, it's being controlled by a PlayStation controller, I'd be like, you know what? Just keep the money. Get me out of here. You know what I mean? Like that would be me. And again, this is from somebody who went on a submarine. I'm almost certain that the submarine that me and my girlfriend got on in Hawaii was not controlled by a remote control. At least I hope not. At least I hope not. I mean, for crying out loud, that looks like a freaking PlayStation Xbox controller. Like, that is embarrassing. Like, that's absolutely insane. And then look at the size of this vessel. Let's play more of the video. You guys can see it's very, very small in there.
So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down.
So this is the actual submersible, just so you guys know. This is the submersible by the company OceanGate. That's the CEO. I'm pretty sure that's the CEO. I'm pretty sure that's Stockton Rush. And you can clearly see that that thing is small as hell. I mean, for crying out loud. So imagine 5 people being in there. You're cramped in there. There's a reason why he's got his legs crossed. You can see that the thing is so small you can't even stand up. I mean, it's a very uncomfortable ride. So now when you think about what exactly these people went through, first of all, just think of the emotional toll that they're going through, knowing that they're more than likely going to die. Because if the CEO is on there, he understands this stuff and what's going on. He knows that no matter what they do, they cannot open it from the inside. The only hope they have is that somebody finds them. They're 12,500 feet below the sea. And then on top of that, you're cramped. You can't stand up. You can barely move. You're in this tiny thing. I mean, for crying out loud, this thing is about the size of an SUV. Forget a minibus or whatever they said this thing is the size of. That looks like the size of an SUV. Like, you're cramped in there. I can't even imagine how 5 people would even fit in there. This looks so tiny, and it is just so sad. And then on top of that, they don't even really have a toilet down there. According to other experts and people who've been on this thing before, you know, there's not really any food. There's like maybe 1 or 2 bottles of water. I mean, they really suffered. Like, I don't know if they're ever even going to find this thing, but if they do, it'll be interesting to see what their last moments was like. I anticipate that their last moments were probably absolute hell. It was probably the worst of the worst, being in that thing and knowing that, you know, their chances of surviving are very slim, which obviously we now know they ran out of oxygen, so they're more than likely dead. Let's play more of the video.
Go up, and it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody, and it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the 2nd year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on.
It's insane because he's recording this video and he's making it seem like this is normal, but this is not normal at all. He's like, oh yeah, we've gone there plenty of times, 12,500 feet. You know, we got the remote control. We have a tiny space. This is just like, And I just really feel like anybody with common sense, I really do. I feel like anybody with common sense will be able to see this and feel unsafe. Like I said, I got to compare my own personal story because I've been on a submarine before. The submarine that I got on was like the size of like a large plane. Like seriously, like it was really long. Obviously, it wasn't as big as a plane, but I guess the best way to say it is the submarine I got on was like the size of two buses. It was very, very long. There was like 50 seats on both sides. You could stand, you could jump. It was that tall. You could literally jump up if you wanted to. Like it was really, really tall. It was big. We didn't just have one person, because remember, there was only one pilot there, and the one pilot that was driving this thing was the CEO. I'll go back to it. This guy. The one person piloting these things was him. When we got on, there were several people. There was one pilot. There was another person standing behind him just directing stuff. There was the tour guide who was also a scuba diver himself. There was somebody else in the back to ensure safety. They did a really good job of ensuring that everybody was safe. Oh, by the way, we didn't go 12,500 feet down below the ocean. We only went 100 feet down. So when we went down there, it was still light. There wasn't complete darkness. It was still light. And yes, when we went down there were sharks. We did see some sharks. We saw some fish. There were some turtles. You saw all kind of stuff. But the bottom line is this situation is just so unfortunate and just so sad of what happened. The last thing I want to show you guys is a very interesting tweet that I saw. So there's been a lot of people on Twitter, like this guy right here, who said some lives are valued more than others. The contrast between the rescue efforts for 600 plus people seeking safety versus 5 billionaires on a tourist trip is sickening. Shame on everyone. I actually do agree here. So for those who don't know the story, I know some of you guys probably don't even know. I actually blame the mainstream media. I think if the mainstream media covered this story, I think the average American or average person, whatever, would absolutely care about the fact that like hundreds of migrants who are trying to migrate from Libya, which is in Africa, to Italy, basically died. They were in a boat. The boat like tipped over or whatever. And basically like hundreds of people died. A lot of people got rescued. I think like 80 people got rescued, but like literally like hundreds of people died. Apparently this is like one of the biggest shipwrecks like in history or something like that. And I absolutely agree with the tweet. Like I'm not mad at him at the outrage because I feel the same way, but I wouldn't blame like the people who are just regularly on social media because it's really up to the media to keep us informed. I would more so blame the mainstream media. Like why is the mainstream media only covering the 5 billionaires who are in the submarine and not the migrants thing? I mean, I have my theories as to why. Like, remember, the media is for profit. They probably thought that the submarine story would be a lot more interesting to people because, remember, with the submarine story, there's drama, there's suspense, there's a time limit. From the time that we discovered that basically the thing had been lost, they basically only had like 92 hours, and then you got a bunch of like notable people on there, and then the whole situation is crazy because it's like this tiny cramped submarine. Then they went further deep, 12,500 feet further than anybody should even be able to go. So there's so many different dynamics. I understand why the media covered it. I get it, but I think that they should have given equal coverage to this situation that happened over by the coast, off the coast of Greece, where a bunch of people died. Let's just go ahead and read the article real quick. It says Greek authorities have so far recovered the bodies of at least 81 people, and more than 100 passengers have been rescued, including Pakistanis, Egyptians, Syrians, Afghans, and Palestinians. But survivors in the United Nations have said hundreds were aboard the boat, and many are still missing and feared dead. If a death toll in the hundreds was confirmed, it would be among the worst shipwrecks recorded in the Mediterranean. Greek authorities have further been criticized for not acting to rescue the migrants, even though a Coast Guard vessel escorted the trawler for hours. International maritime law dictates that authorities are obligated to conduct immediate rescue operations with or without an explicit plea for help. Many, including children, lost their lives on that sinking ship while on their way to seek a safer existence. It's hard not to be cynical about the state of society that this story has gripped us in the midst of a constantly rising refugee crisis with more and more people dying on a daily. This is true. We are seeing a refugee crisis all around the world. And unfortunately, you're having a lot of situations where people, even children, are losing their lives in order to migrate to another place for a better life. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I agree with this post. I do. I think that the fact that several hundred people are more than likely dead because their boat tipped over as they were trying to migrate from Libya or wherever they were coming from to Greece or Italy, wherever they were going. I think that story should have more coverage, and so that's why I'm covering it here. Rest in peace to all of those lives that got lost, especially the children. That is extremely sad. Honestly, rest in peace to everybody. Rest in peace to the billionaires that got killed. that died, and rest in peace to the 600 people. Hopefully they are able to rescue more people, or at least find some of the missing people that died or that fell over in the migrants boat over the coast of Greece. And hopefully they also at some point are able to find this Titan submersible that also apparently has run out of oxygen. So anyway, there you guys have it. That'll go ahead and conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.